Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another podcast edition of Create Yourself Imagery, Intimacy, Innovation, a place and space where people from all walks of life and various backgrounds come to share their transformative personal and professional stories of restoration, clarity, confidence, and power. They're here to share their useful tools, resources, and affirming guidance. I'm Joyce Kyles, your global speaker, teacher, author, trainer, and coach. And if you are ready to transition, transform, and thrive, this is the podcast for you. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. If this is your recurring visit to the podcast, thank you so much for coming back. And as I always say, tell a friend to tell two more friends to come and join us. We are here to transition, transform, and thrive. And I am so excited, especially for those of you who've been listening for a while. You know, I always get excited and hyped about my guests, right? So this week, I am reconnecting in some ways, and in some other ways, it's like we just pick up where we left off because we don't miss a beat. It's always a fun time when the two of us get together and chat. So, without further ado, let me just share a little bit about who I am bringing to you today. I am bringing Dr. Nicole Gates-Golden, who is the founding director for the Golden Key Entrepreneurship Academy, among other things. She is a newlywed, she is a mom, she is a grandma, Mimi, grandma. We'll talk into what they actually call you because I don't remember, but I'm a Mimi. But she has been an entrepreneurial just guru, genius, just trailblazing powerhouse for as long as I have known her. She's just always had a great mind, a heart for business and for people. And, you know, has run her own businesses in the past. She's had her own academies prior. So just seeing it all come together to Golden Key, I'm really excited to really delve deep into that. She's a wine connoisseur, so I don't know. She may tell us a little bit about that. She's a traveler, so you know she loves travel. She loves people. She just loves life. She just loves life and all that life has to offer. And so with that, I'm just going to go ahead and bring her to the mic. So I'm going to introduce to some and present to others none other than the trailblazer herself, Dr. Nicole Gates-Golden. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Joyce. Thanks for having me.
So we just gonna jump right on in,
Let's
ma'am.
go. Let's go.
Now, how long have we known each other?
Oh my gosh. Well over 20, maybe 20 years.
Yeah,
I'm thinking somewhere in the
right.
vicinity of that. It's
That's
been a
about
long,
right.
long time. It's
It
been a very
has.
long time.
And so, with that, one of the reasons that I wanted to bring you on to the show is because Create Yourself is about what it means to transition, transform, and thrive. So
Oh,
I just
yes.
shared a little snippet about you. And of course, when people click on the link to listen to the show, your bio is there. So it lists a lot of, you know, who you are and what you do. But I always just like to give that extra flair for the people that I know because
Right.
I know the things behind all the accolades that we see on the bio, and I know the work that
Yeah.
went into it. And so, with you coming on to talk with us today, I would just love for you to share, you know, before you became all the things, and some of them that I didn't even share. Um, what was the create yourself journey like for you? And at what point did you pivot from this is what I'm doing to this is what I'm doing. So for the next few
Wow.
minutes, the floor is yours.
Well, let me tell you, Joyce. Yeah, and I know you've seen this firsthand. Transitioning and pivoting consistently, like recreating myself over and over and over and over again, right? So, of course, when I first moved here to Memphis, knew nobody. Had no family here, just my girls. Moved here with my ex-husband. Ended up divorced a year later, right? So really just that was probably my first having to transform and pivot and recreate myself because I had to figure it out. I was like, okay, I got a choice. Either I stay here and make things happen here or I go back home. Going back home was probably the easy choice, right? That's where my support system is. But I chose to stay. I don't know why I chose to stay, but I chose to stay. Um, but God showed me something in that moment. It's like, listen, just trust me, take the first step. I'm gonna follow suit with about 10 more steps, right? So I did that. I literally did that. And I met a friend along that path, Miss Peggy Russell. And I know you remember Miss Peggy. And she used to always tell me, just trust the process. And I was like, what does that mean? you know, like, what does that mean? I don't have faith like that. At that time, I really honestly did not have that type of faith, right? But, just hearing that over and over and over, and it started to resonate. And then I was like, oh, now I get it. Trust the process. I trust the process. And I just was like, okay, failure is not an option. I knew that wasn't an option. I had 4 daughters I was raising at that time. And I was like, I just got to make it happen. And I did. I truly stepped out on faith. Now I can look back and say, ooh, that was some serious faith. Because it was times when I honestly didn't know. I didn't know where my money was going to come from because at the time I wasn't working. My twins were 6 months old when we moved to Memphis. So I was like, ugh, having twins and in 6 months, like you just kind of getting a grip on. I got twins and I got all this stuff going on. So I did. I had to really like kind of wrap my mind around the fact failure is not an option. You got to make something happen, right? So that was my first time. I was fortunate because I had one friend that I had worked with back home, and she was working at Job Corps. I ended up getting a job at Job Corps. So I worked with them for a couple of years. And then my next pivot came. I was like, I love the work that I'm doing. I love teaching. I think I'm a teacher by nature. I love teaching, but I knew I didn't like how administration worked at Job Corps, just to be perfectly honest. And so I decided, I was like, you know what? This is not for me. And something else is something's got to give. I was spending more time there with those students that I had than I was spending actually with my kids. And my kids told me that. They was like, Ma, you spend more time with them than you do us. But it was because of the demands of the job, right? And so I had to make a decision because that hit home. I was missing everything that my kids had going. So I decided to quit. And when I quit, I was like, well, what's the skill I can fall back on? Um, and I decided that event planning was something I had always done. I did it back home. I was actually still doing it. And I decided to just go do that full time. And in the process of that, my next pivot came. I started volunteering, doing some things with March of Dimes, because of the campaign they had for infant mortality, and really just being able to relate to the fact that, here's these preemie babies are dying before the age 1, yada, yada, yada. I started planning events and doing things with them, and actually got tapped on the shoulder by the mayor. And the mayor asked me to come work with Shelby County government, working with their infant mortality initiative. So I've pivoted and transformed. I feel like a transformer 1,000 times. Maybe I'm Bumblebee, I don't know. But I transformed a 1,000 times, right? And I think sometimes as women, we kind of feel like a failure when we have to do that. And, I just really want to reassure women that it's okay. You might do that a million times, and it's okay. It's okay. But with each move, I took flight, like life really took flight. So most recently, I went back to work for Shelby County government. I knew I didn't want to go back because I'm retired from Shelby County government. And so I went back. I took the position because I was asked by our county commissioner, and another good friend asked me about taking the position and really being a connector for the community. And I was like, well, I'm already a connector. I don't need the job, or the title, right? I do that naturally. So I agreed to come back and do this job. And you know what, Joyce? I hated it. I hated it. I hated the job. And it wasn't because of the work we were doing. I knew I didn't want to work for anybody. And I had 8 years of retirement. And then to go back, it was like, I felt like it was going backwards. I felt like I was literally going backwards. That felt like failure to me to have to go back. And it wasn't that I needed to, but I was like, I just wanted to do it as a favor. And I was like, this ain't
Mhm.
what you want to do. It wasn't what I wanted to do. But in the course of
Mhm.
that, I had to suck it up and I was like, okay, you agreed to do this, you got to give it a good shot. And which I did. But in the course of that, one of the first people I met doing the job, being out in the community, having to meet with our stakeholders was Mr. Golden, who is now my husband. He was one of the first people I met. So I want to say this job had purpose. It really had a purpose. I didn't realize what the purpose was going to be. But
I
we just,
agree.
really became friends, and really just started working together, doing some things together, and it just kind of grew from there. And so after we got married, Mr. Golden owns Golden Institute, so it's on one side. We have the event center on one side of the building. I started helping do some things with that. But then we have another side of the building. I was like, what are we going to do with this space? It's not being used, right? And I was like, he was like, well, what would you do with it? I said, well, come on, take a walk with me. Let me show you what I would do with it. So I was like, if I could, because this is something I really tried to do in Fraser, when I was working for Fraser CDC, was really implement a entrepreneur hub, somewhere that entrepreneurs could go, for co-working, for content, for whatever. And it didn't work out in Fraser, but it wasn't meant for Fraser. So we opened it in Raleigh. So we transformed that space, knocked down some walls, put up some walls. We did a lot of stuff, to really create Golden Key, which is now like the premier hub for entrepreneurs in Memphis. Nobody is working with micro businesses anymore, especially after the pandemic. And so this gave me an opportunity to really spread my wings and fly. This is something I've always wanted to do. I'm an entrepreneur at heart, always have been. I think you can remember when we did Successful Single Moms, our Single Moms University, our Mogul Moms class. I believe you were a part of that class. So, just really seeing the need and feeling that need is where my last transformation and pivot kind of came in. So I've been around the block a couple of times, I would like to say. But I'm really happy with what I'm doing now. And I got a message this morning. When I first woke up this morning, I looked at my phone and it was a text message on there. And a young lady that has been coming and visiting, doing some things with us, she's a part of Cadence Bank. She's one of their key players for Cadence Bank. And she sent me a text message this morning and she said, I'm looking at these pictures and I'm crying. She said, I am literally crying. She was looking at our graduation pictures. We just graduated our first cohort. And she was like, you are really changing lives. And, I needed to hear that. Sometimes, we have success in different areas. We all have struggles. We all have these different things going on. Life can happen, whatever. But today I needed to hear that. It was wonderful just waking up and seeing a message like that, just knowing that the work you're doing matters, right? I knew it mattered to the students, the participants that came through that cohort, the stories, just amazing. But it's so rewarding that other people can kind of see your heart in the work that you do.
Yeah. So many nuggets, so many gems that you shared in that.
Yeah.
And so, first of all, thank you for sharing that journey with us and really walking us through that creation, recreating, reinventing,
Yes.
um, and the layers to it all, and
Mhm.
using your skill sets to create yet something else, and I think that that's one of the things that you mentioned that is so key and so important is that we all have skills, gifts, talents that we have used in other spaces. And there are ways that we can pivot and use those same gifts, skills, and talents in ways that will not only be profitable, but they are also in a space of alignment with our true purpose. And so
Absolutely.
when you talked about, having gone back after retiring and going back to Shelby County, it didn't feel right because that part of your life's purpose had been fulfilled, and
Right.
so you didn't want to continue on in that space. And I think about the successful single moms, and when we had that going and being a
Hmm.
founding member of that, and just remembering if you remember right, it had a different name.
It
to
did.
begin with. And I'm not even going to give that the energy to
Oh
even
my
give it the
gosh.
previous name
Right.
because, you, me, several, we push back on that. Like,
Uh-huh.
no, no,
Right.
we are striving for excellence,
Yep.
and we want our names to be reflective of success, of
Right.
prosperity, of opportunity, of cohesiveness, of sisterhood. So yeah, I remember that
Oh yeah.
very well. Yeah, so
We did. We went down that rabbit hole. But I'm glad that the word tells us to speak those things that are not as though they were, right?
that's right.
And to me, it was impactful. We have to speak life into whatever I said. Just because we're single moms doesn't mean we're balled up in a corner. I used to say that all the time, balled up in a
Hmm.
corner, crying, waiting on a welfare check and food stamps. That wasn't our story. We had some very strong, powerful women in that group that are
Absolutely.
still doing amazing things. I just look back and just to see all of those women now that are really, I mean, just thriving. And I like to think that we spoke some life into that, you know?
I agree. Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. I know that we did because there are women who I still talk with, you still talk with,
Mhm.
and we see them. We see what they're doing. We see them elevate, that, and
Oh
that's
yeah.
actually my word for 2026 is elevate. And so everything that I'm working on and I'm doing and I'm showing up, I'm truly operating in an elevated space. And what does it mean to evolve and to
And my
change
word
and
is
to
evolve.
okay, so
So we are in alignment.
wow,
Evolve.
wow,
Because
okay.
just coming from the walk of life I've had working in government, you see a lot, you hear a lot, just it's crazy sometimes. But really just getting to a place where you get to develop your dreams and aspirations. It allows you to evolve. And now you become, you're not the little caterpillar anymore. You know what I mean? You really, this is metamorphosis process. You're a butterfly. Now you're beautiful and you're flowing and in your, as Delmar would say, zone of genius.
That's right.
And it's a beautiful place to be. And now that you
Absolutely.
can, I think our goal has always been to help other people, not just women, but just people in general. I know you
Right.
have that heart, I have that heart, and it's just good to see us at this level in life. This
Yes,
picture. Yeah.
evolving and elevating and
Oh yeah.
continuing to do the work and not just do the work, but also ensuring that we are bringing other people along the way.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Me, several women that I know, we've all shared about some of the things that we have gone through that brought us to this point and where we're still going. But it
Mhm.
also took other people who poured into us, believed in us, or said a word, like you mentioned, Miss Peggy Russell, who
Oh yeah.
I think about her still
Yes,
from time to
yes,
time,
yes.
miss her dearly, miss her
Same,
dearly.
same.
Um, but the way she would pour into you, and she would just say a word,
Right,
just
right.
a just a sentence, couple of
Just a
sentences.
roundabout conversation. Yeah.
Yes,
But it was so
but
impactful.
but exactly. So what a gift that we had in women like her
Oh yeah.
that left the legacy, left the nuggets, left the gems, left the jewels, planted seeds in us. And so I
Hmm.
know
Hmm.
that's what I'm striving to do in the work that I do as a speaker, as a coach. I know that's what you are doing in all of the facets in which you operate, which is a good segue for me to come back into Golden Key. So, congratulations, first of
Thank
all,
you.
on the graduation of your first cohort, first of
Thank
many.
you.
Would love for you to share with the audience a bit more about what Golden Key is all about, all the things that you offer, and what things you may have coming down the pike that we can support.
Absolutely. So Golden Key Entrepreneur Training Academy is a hub, number one, for entrepreneurs. We have several different spaces in there that entrepreneurs can actually come and be a part of, even if they're not a part of the class. So our class is a 12-week class. It's very hands-on. So the one thing that I wanted to do different, Joyce, and I know you can relate to this as an entrepreneur yourself. I didn't come from a family of entrepreneurs, and I don't know if you did or didn't, but I didn't, and I had to learn a lot by trial and error. And so I was like, man, what would I have wanted at the very onset of me starting my first business? What would I have wanted? And so I really try to create that space. So when you come into our lobby, it's beautiful, it's well lit and colorful and pretty, of course, gold is in those colors. We had to do that part. But then you walk in, we have a full print center, full print center in there. So, we're in the Raleigh area. And if you know anything about Memphis and Raleigh, there's not a print center anywhere close by. So the closest place I think we can go is Bartlett or
Right,
either downtown. And a
right.
lot of people don't, have transportation. That's always been an issue in this area. So we decided to create a full print center. So we have a full print center. They can come and mail things. They can have mail sent there, the whole nine. We have a full conference room, which is completely stocked. So they can come in, make coffee, make tea, make hot chocolate, whatever. We provide all the snacks and everything there. But the conference room is really set up so entrepreneurs, if they have meetings, and they don't want to meet at home. Because some of us, I used to work from home. I had an office at home, but you don't want people necessarily meeting you at your home, or you don't want to go to a coffee shop or whatever because it can be noisy and stuff like that. So we created a space where they can actually come in and meet with clients. Off from there, we have what we call the Zen Den, which is my favorite spots. The Zen Den is where entrepreneurs can come in and relax. We have a young lady that is in the Raleigh area. She does massages. They can book massages with her in that space, but it's beautifully decorated. We have aromatherapy, music therapy in that room. So they can really just come in there. If they want to take a nap, they can literally come in there and just, digress. But sometimes we need to do that. We have an innovation brand lab, which is my other favorite space where our entrepreneurs can actually come in and they can create their first set of branded items, whether that's t-shirts, hats, coffee mugs, tumblers, jackets, you name it. We have all the equipment there for them to be able to come in there and produce, right? Um, I wish we could take a visual tour of all of this stuff. So I want people to kind of be able to see
Well,
and
no,
imagine
you are
yeah.
so descriptive in the way that you are sharing that
Yeah.
I'm literally able to walk through with you. So I
Yeah.
feel
It's such an
supremely
awesome
confident. Yeah,
space.
yeah. People listening, you're a great storyteller. So
Oh,
we we
well, that's
we
good to
we
know.
with you. We're with you. We're with you.
Okay, so then if they go across the hall, we have our co-working spaces fully equipped, printers, if they need a laptop. Some people don't have laptops, believe it or not. We have tablets or laptops that they can borrow while they're there to do work. And then we have of course, because I do travel and I love to travel, we have a travel desk. And that's something that we're looking at doing now is really bringing in an apprentice program for people that want to learn the hospitality and tourism trade, right? So we're looking at doing that. But up the hall, if they go up the hall, we have a content studio, full content studio where they can come in, they can record visual or audio, podcasting or whatever content they want to film in there. It was so funny during our grand opening. We had one gentleman that went in there and filmed a whole episode of his podcast in there while the grand opening was going. It was so cute. And he aired it. And so it really got us a lot of, attention from there. But believe it or not, we've been open since August. And I think we still are the best kept secret, even though we chime it out. A lot of people know that we're there. I think people are really just starting to get hold to, oh, this is what they're doing. So, of course, we're always looking for partners. We're looking for people that would coach our entrepreneurs, and whether that's industry based or they're just subject matter experts, maybe in marketing or branding and stuff like that. I'm only one person, but I do call in the troops because I can't do it all, and I'm not trying to do it all by myself. I just wanted to fill that gap. What we saw happen was, during COVID, we have a lot of great programs that came up during COVID. A lot of companies jumped in, offered programs, offered funding that people didn't have to pay back. pay back so they could just kind of get a jump start on their business. But as soon as they said, oh, the world is open, those programs went away. And even more programs are going away. And they're not even doing entrepreneurship for micro business, especially on that level. And I didn't want a program that people would come in and listen to us talk and we be talking heads, and we expect them to go back and implement, because how many people really actually go back and do that, right? So I wanted it to be very hands-on. So during the class, while they're in class, they are actually implementing what we're teaching. So if we're talking about how do you write your mission statement, they're writing the mission statement. If we're talking about applying for your EIN, they're doing it actually in the class. So when they leave, they already have it done. Because I've just seen it over and over, programs, great programs, but it's mostly content and they're not hands-on. So I wanted to offer something different. And another reason why, Joyce, and this, I got to share this story. I share this all the time, but I got to share it with your audience as well. I started seeing a trend, and it's really sad that people would take advantage, but people do take advantage of other people's ignorance, around entrepreneurship. What type of, should I be a LLC? Should I be this, that, and the other? I
Right.
had taught a class a couple of summers ago, maybe about 3 summers ago. I think it was during COVID. I taught a class for African refugees in Binghamton, and great class, love that class. But when we got to talking about the EIN, one of the gentlemen took off running out of class, and I was like, I thought I said something wrong. I was like, oh my God, did I say something wrong? Maybe didn't understand, because he just shot out of there, and I was like, what is going on? And so I asked the class, I was like, did I say something wrong? They was like, no. No, but he came back in. When he came back in, he had some paperwork, and he showed me this paperwork that the day before somebody had just charged him $1,800 to get a free EIN. It is free
What?
all day, every day. And
Yes.
yeah, and I was like, can you get your money back? No, he could never got his money back. The guy would not give him his money back. But
Oh
again,
no.
people will take advantage of entrepreneurs who don't know. And it's really sad. And I see it over and over and over again, and not just that, even nonprofit founders, they pay all of this money to get their paperwork done, not knowing it don't cost that much. But people will tax them like that. And I just don't want people to be taken advantage of. And this is why I exist. And Golden Key Entrepreneur Training Academy exists.
Well, it's a wonderful program. It is absolutely wonderful to have that one-stop shop there and be able to
Yeah,
provide the robust list of services that you provide. That is a huge blessing for um, the Raleigh area community, but Memphis as a whole. And
absolutely.
so, I am hopeful that as you all continue to grow, that the word will get out and people will really come in and see what it is that you have to offer, and then buy into it, not
Mhm.
just with their resources, because you always need the money, but we
Right.
also want you to to buy into it with your time. So give of your service, give of your time, volunteer your time,
Mhm.
um, and of course make those donations, and partner up and find ways to collaborate, because it's a wonderful, wonderful program. And it's a joy to be able to see that you are really just fulfilling a dream and a purpose that you've
Yeah.
had for some time now. And so it may not have happened at the time that you may have thought, or we may have thought, or but
Hmm.
I hear all the time, God's timing is never wrong.
That's the
And
truth.
so
That is the
and
truth.
so it had to happen when it happened. And
Absolutely.
if it happens any sooner, then either the people aren't ready for it, or you may not be ready for it. It doesn't come together the same way. I love that you provide so many different services and that they're tangible. When I had my nonprofit, and I ran it, operated, founded it, ran it for about 14 years before I
Hmm.
dissolved. And one of the things that I was most proud of with the nonprofit was the fact that part of our mission statement said provide tangible resources for,
Absolutely.
because You can tell people all day they need to do this, they need to do that, but give me something tangible that I can see, touch, taste,
Mhm.
smell, something that
In the
I can
moment,
take
right?
with me.
In real
Yes,
time.
yes, yes.
Right.
I need it in that real time, and I need it to come from a place and space that is honest and authentic. And
Absolutely.
so, with you
Absolutely.
sharing that story, that speaks to his people that are being taken advantage of left and right,
Yes.
day in, day out. And
Yes.
so you're providing an opportunity for people to receive the types of services that they need to be sustainable, but also doing it in a way that is authentic and trustworthy. And
Absolutely.
that matters. I mean, oh my goodness, that matters so, so much. And when you're a micro business, you operating as a team of one, or maybe a team of one or two, you don't have a lot of other people, places, and things to rely on and depend on. So that timing and how you spend your time and your dollars, that matters. So
Absolutely.
thank you to you and your husband. Kudos to you all for putting this, theory into practice, if you will.
Absolutely. It's what I would have wanted. You know what I mean? So, like, I didn't want to create something just to create it. It really came from purpose. And I wanted to be able to give my community something that, they could be proud of, that they could utilize, they could use in real time. That's major to me.
Absolutely, it is.
Yeah.
So, with that, then coming down to the last couple of questions for you. So, one, do you have anything that is coming down the pipeline that you would like to share, or just some other ways that you would want people to come in and connect with you? And then,
Yeah.
lastly, um, just share with our audience any tools, gems, words of encouragement, anything that you would want them to take away from our conversation today, outside of all the great nuggets you have already shared.
I can definitely do that. So coming down the pipe, so our next cohort was supposed to start yesterday, but because of our snowstorm and this wonderful snow that we got and ice and all that good stuff, we postponed it a week. So we'll actually start our winter cohort on February 3rd. We're already recruiting for our spring. So our winter class filled up so fast. Like it just filled up. We do have our spring cohort coming up. We have 10 scholarships. So we are a nonprofit as well. But we do give scholarships to those that may not be able to afford the full cost of the class. They can actually go on goldenkeyeta.com, and there's a link on there that they can apply actually for the class. So we're recruiting for our spring class right now. um, the buzz has gotten out there. Our students that participated in the first cohort, they got so much from the class, and it was really good because the curriculum is something I wrote. It took me 2 years to write that curriculum, but I really poured into it all the things that I wanted to, I wish I had, really, honestly. So it was great to be able to just launch that and see them actually come through. 12 weeks is a long time. So it takes some commitment and some dedication, but they did it. They did it. They did it without fail. And that just made me so incredibly proud. What advice would I give to budding entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs, people already in business, people trying to grow their businesses? I want them to remember that success is their birthright. Success is your birthright. There's no reason for any of us to have to fail. We all have a skill, a talent that can be marketable, that you can use, then turn into a business. Every one of us has that capability, but it's about dedication and time and commitment. Are you going to be committed to your dream? It may not even come when you want, because I would have thought years ago this would have happened. But like you said, it's in God's timing, and his timing is perfect, and you got to trust the process.
Well, with that, the mic has been dropped. And with that, we will close out this segment. Thank you, Dr. Golden, Dr. Gates
Absolutely.
Golden,
You're welcome.
for joining us today and being your true, authentic self as always, and sharing and pouring into us. I know that I got some great gems, nuggets out of it, and I know that the listening audience will too. And it's
Absolutely.
especially nice to have done this podcast with you because yeah, we go back a long way, and to see
Absolutely.
things grow, change, pivot, evolve. We both have gotten husbands since.
Right. We're no longer successful single moms.
Yeah, yeah. So
Successful married wives, you know.
right, we're now successful married wives, and you are evolving, and I am elevating.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I'm looking forward to what's next for you, what's next for me, what's next for us.
Yes.
And
It's gonna be
so,
great.
yeah, so thank you so much for taking time out of your extremely busy schedule to
Thanks for
show up
having me.
for us.
Thanks for
Thank
having me.
you. And to my listening audience, thank you for showing up today because I could not do this without you. So, as I always say, go back out into the world and create yourself, create the life that you desire and deserve. And remember that you can do so at any age. Let's continue to
Yes.
transition, transform, and thrive together.